And welcome, everybody, to the Friday edition of the Just Parlay Show here with Winners and Whiners. That's right, we kind of changed YouTube accounts here just to potentially see if more people are going to show up. Either way, sorry if you didn't get the memo. We didn't really post anything about it, kind of a last-minute change. But we're here. Either way, we're going to go through the Friday card. First of all, Chris, since I'm always joined by parlay expert Chris King, how's it going with you? How was your Thursday?
Well, like we talked about last night, the worst game on the schedule for everybody that was in the conversation with us yesterday probably was Thursday Night Football. And not only was it a lousy game, it screwed over a lot of people late.
I got buried.
I know Rye said he had taken the Steelers plus 4.5. That got buried at the end. No, not totally at the end, but I mean, in the fourth quarter, that slipped away. The under went away with less than, 2 minutes to go.
It was just pain and suffering.
Yeah,
it was pain and suffering for me the entire way through. It was just rough. Ruined
a six-teamer that we had on the premium side that, depending on whether or not you took the Royals on the run line, would have been either 57-1 or 87-1. Because, I mean, don't you think you should get some sort of benefit if you take the Royals as an underdog in a parlay? Don't you think the odds should be in your favor?
You'd assume so. But honestly, there's a lot to unpack from the final couple minutes there of that Thursday night game. Where do you want to start? Because there's a lot to talk about. Do you have any specific area you want to start with? Because I feel like everyone wants to only talk about the final 3 minutes. There's a lot to go through.
As Loverboy said, you may as well start from the start.
Okay. So starting off with the first quarter went the exact way that I thought it would. You'd end up having no points for about the first 10 minutes, had a missed field goal in there. It was an ugly game. And then both teams couldn't get a stop for about a quarter and a half. I don't know what happened. Both teams defensively just fell apart. The Browns started going 5 wide with 20-mile-per-hour winds, and the Steelers' defense couldn't do anything. And then Cleveland's defense was awful as well. Then you had one of the greatest catches of all time with the Pickens one-hander, which was just absolutely insane. Besides that, Brissett looked really good, but the whole total came down to the last couple of minutes of the first half, 20 points in the second quarter, which was brutal. And then you also had the fourth quarter. And as a person who had the under, we had a 4th and goal situation for Cleveland. And for some reason, Hunt got the first 3 carries. I don't know why they waited until 4th down to bring in Chubb, but Chubb got the touch, and he scored. So a goal line stand there, and the under probably cashes. Then you end up not getting any more points until the final 2 minutes and change. First of all, Tomlin is a coach that I've hated for a long time. And I've said that he's arguably the most overrated coach of all time. I've mentioned how conservative he is and how he still lives like it's 2000 or coaches like it's still 2003 and he'll punt all the time. It was good for the under that he punted inside his own 10-yard line. Can you explain to me why he punted on 4th and 6 at his own 10 down 2 possessions with 4.5 to go? We'll start
No, there. I mean, there's no real good answer to that. Because, like you said, Tomlin's coaching like it was 2 decades ago, and he hasn't adapted to the way the league is now. I mean, they insist on trying to get by with mediocre quarterback play and hoping that their defense can carry them. That's not necessarily the case. I didn't understand kicking the field goal on 4th and 1 after.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
True.
We're going to go chronologically, but
yeah, I didn't understand the punting situation either. I guess he was trying to play the field position game and hoping that the defense could get a turnover.
Yeah, play the field position game while your team's down 2 possessions, and Cleveland's gone up and down for the last couple quarters. I mean, for the under, I was happy about it because they punted and the Browns got the ball at roughly their own 40, and they went 3 and out. So that part of Tomlin, I thought it was a terrible decision. I think you have to go for it. But he punted, and I'm like, all right, maybe I got a shot at this. Then Pittsburgh actually forced a 3 and out. I'm like, all right, cool. And then the Browns punted. And the Steelers had to go about 80 yards with Trubisky to burn me, or close to 80 yards. And it was really just 2 passes. It was both passes to Freiermuth. And the first one, which he mossed somebody, for like 30 yards, which was just a crazy catch. But I'm watching the under, and I'm thinking to myself, is Tomlin going to kick a field goal at any point? Because Boswell missed one earlier, the wind is circling, and I was wondering if they would actually kick or not. And then I saw 4th and 5, and I'm like, okay, they might go for it. And I saw them send out Boswell again. I saw them send out Boswell. I'm like, all right, I'm screwed. Like 4th and 5, it wouldn't have been that bad of a beat because I understand 4th and 5, like you kick. Like I get it. But then they get the too many men on the field. And you move it to 4th and inches.
Yeah, because it was less than 1, right?
It was less than 1 because it was 4th and 5 and it wasn't an automatic first down. So it was literally inches. And they decided to just kick a field goal on 4th and inches. And I understand mathematically you're down 2 possessions, so you need a score anyway. But if you were going to settle for the field goal, then why would you wait for your team to be inside the red zone to kick? That means you should have kicked before the 2-minute warning if you were going to settle for a field goal because you want the extra timeout. So the whole thing made no sense. And then 4th and inches, though, you have a mobile quarterback. You could sneak it. You could do whatever. Now, I'm not saying as an underbetter that I would have won because the Steelers, it's 4th and inches. You should pick up an inch. I'm not saying that I would have won the bet anyway, or we would have, because I know you had the under as well. But I don't understand the thought process behind punting inside your own 10, down 2 possessions with 4 and change to go, and then kicking a field goal later on the next drive. If you were really worried about time, then you wouldn't have punted because you needed the ball. So I don't understand what Tomlin was doing down the stretch. I've said time and time again, he's one of the most conservative coaches in the league, and I personally just don't like him as a coach. I think he should have been fired years ago. And then after the game, and then, of course, you had the lateral stuff at the end. It's unfortunate for anybody that had live totals or defense, anything like that, but we've seen that before. I'm not going to criticize the Steelers for trying a 96-yard lateral play on the final play of the game. Shit happens, that happens. But it was mostly just the punting inside their own 10 with 4 minutes to go, down 2 possessions, and then kicking a field goal on 4th and inches. I didn't agree with either decision, and my under got toast. But that's kind of how I look at the game. And then post-game, Tomlin said vehemently, we're sticking with Trubisky. Do you agree with that decision, or do you think they should be using Pickett?
I mean, it's probably an opportunity to give Pickett a chance to do something. I guess they're just banking on the fact that we've seen so many bad teams that were supposed to be good in the AFC so far. The Bengals, the entire AFC South. New England hasn't necessarily looked good. I guess they're trying to bank that, hey, we're still in the mix where we could potentially get a playoff spot. We don't want to necessarily go to a rookie and blow ourselves out of the water. But I think if you see in the coming weeks here, because let's see, who do the Steelers have coming up? They've got the Jets next week. Then they've got Buffalo in Orchard Park in week 5. And then they have Tampa Bay.
Am I wrong for liking the Jets in that game?
Not based on what you've seen from Pittsburgh so far, no.
I don't think Pittsburgh's any good.
Especially if Watt is still out at that point, which we assume he's going to be.
They're 0-6 without TJ, I think.
I believe that's an accurate number, yeah.
They're 0-6? Yeah, they haven't won. But that's also an issue with Tomlin because he tries to let the defense dictate the game, which I expected. That's kind of why I like the under. I thought he'd be conservative. And he did punt a couple of times in plus territory in the first half. The issue is when TJ Watt's out, your defense isn't very good. So how are you letting your defense dictate the game if your defense also can't stop the Browns? Because Brissett looked really good. Chubb was amazing. We thought that would be the case. And the Steelers really didn't threaten. But I'm salty about the under because they didn't go for it. I'm not saying that I would have won anyway because you should pick up inches. They should have converted realistically. But to lose it on a field goal attempt there, I just think is extremely sad. And, yeah, Pittsburgh's not a good team. But you have any other takeaways, or should we transition to some of the other games?
Well, I mean, like I said, I was disappointed with the way that ended up. Like I said, Pittsburgh doesn't look good. You have to think if Pittsburgh loses their next 3, which is a viable possibility. When, like I said, it's the Jets, then it's at Buffalo, then it's Tampa Bay at home, and you're staring at 1-5. Then I can see them being more inclined to make the switch to Pickett But then again, the week after that, they play Miami.
Yeah, just to push back a little bit, I think they should be using Pickett because you know what Trubisky is at this point. Having said that, I have to at least point out that I don't think Trubisky was the reason why they lost the game. I didn't think Trubisky was that bad yesterday. I don't think he was, very, very good. But in bad wind, I thought Trubisky could have played worse. He had no interceptions. He didn't turn the ball over. That was a shock.
Yeah, I know that was a disappointment for a lot of people because I know Andrew was talking about how you could get Trubisky at minus 130 to throw an interception. I was surprised that Jalen Warren actually, got to play because he hasn't done it.
And he also had that screen pass for like 40 yards that got called back on a legal man downfield. But no, he was actually a factor last night.
And, you look – and those 2 catches by Freiermuth on that last drive where
that first one was so painful. As soon as he caught the first one, I'm like, well, I know my under's dead. Just mosses a ball that was underthrown. He catches it on the guy's back. And I'm just like, what?
And those were the only 2 catches he had the whole game.
I know that made it even worse for me. The second one, he was open, whatever. But I think he also had a pass to like Claypool or something for like 10, 15 yards on that drive. But the first pass to Freiermuth, he threw it into like double coverage, and he just mosses a guy that doesn't turn around. And I'm like, oh, my under's absolutely dead. Like garbage time Trubisky's about to kill me. And that's exactly what happened. Alvaro, what's up? How's it going? No, Scott's still around. We did the football show. He's been pivoting more towards his own football show, stuff like that. So I've been on the show with Chris for the last, month and a half?
Almost 2.5 months now.
2.5 months at this point? Yeah. So
yeah, right.
He's still around. Alvaro, if you want to see Scott, I'm going to be doing my college football show with him in like 45 minutes. Or about an hour, actually.
And he'll have his farm hat.
I actually did bring it. It's over there. So I do have it.
Well, there you go. So you brought it. And,
I did.
Steen has it hanging up most of the time. JC said, just tuned in. No more Max Wagers Network.
There's a whole there's a lot of layers to this. So long story short is that they're trying to change the formatting, the higher-ups to some degree for the show. This might potentially be my last show on just Parlays. Potentially. We're not sure yet, but the point is they're trying to change some things up, so to speak, mostly because of viewer engagement. Just they wanted more, and we figure.
So this is. Oh, go ahead. I'll try.
I was going to say this was kind of like a last-ditch effort to try to increase viewership because Max Wagers, we know that we have a usual audience there, but it also only has like 550 subscribers. So we were hoping if we posted it to Winners and Whiners with like 15,000 subscribers, we'd end up with a lot of people. So it's kind of like a last-ditch effort here, but I know Chris will continue the show no matter what. I might not be back on Monday. I'd say probably not, but it remains to be seen. Do you have anything else you want to add? Because that's kind of my takeaway.
Basically, what I'd like to see happen in the comments, because like I was talking to Jim before the show, and of course, Jim was the first co-host. I feel like this is
the OG.
I consider this is the ghost of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future as far as the co-hosts go, because over the last 10 months, there's been Steen and there was Jim and there was you. This is basically like PBS where, everybody should comment in the show box there or on the comments on YouTube or just right here in the chat about how you want to see the show stay the way it is. Because, if anybody has been in this business, and I don't know if any of you have or you haven't, the toughest thing to do is to try and sit and have a conversation with dead air for an entire time. Sure, I can sit here and give all the information that we do when it was Jim and myself or Scott and myself or Steen and myself. But there's no, the window behind or in front of me is not going to talk back and offer their insight. So, this is one of those times, you don't get any free tote bags or anything you can do with PBS. But this is a chance for you guys to speak out and say you'd rather see things the way they are as opposed to changing them up or, having no co-host and having a shorter show with less information and things like that. Because you have to think, if you do that, then not only are we shortchanging ourselves, we're shortchanging you, the viewers, because you're not getting all the information that you're getting right now. And, without the information, how are you, you're not as well informed as you would be when you go to place your bets.
Also the dialogue in the beginning. But either way, it obviously wasn't my call. So, it is what it is. We'll see what happens moving forward. I'm assuming as of right now, this is going to be my last Just Parlay show. As of right, that's what I'm assuming right now. So if anything changes, I'll probably post something on Twitter. But yeah, that's basically all there is to add. Just kind of wanted to throw that out there. But in general, yeah. You have anything else you want to add, or do you want to just pivot over to some of the other games from yesterday?
Yeah, we can talk about some of the other games from yesterday.
So college, you were right about Coastal. My favorite play was the over, which got there. But it was a bit
but it did.
Yeah, I knew my play was cooked right before the game when they announced that 3 Georgia State offensive linemen were out. And at that point, I knew that they were going to be absolutely cooked. So, yeah, I believe the first play was a kickoff return to the 50, followed by an immediate swing pass for a touchdown. And it was basically 14-0 before you could blink. Georgia State was not good, but they were missing 3 offensive linemen, which was kind of unexpected. And Coastal dominated. We thought Coastal would score 40 or at least 30+. They did. My favorite play was the over, which got there. But Georgia State missing that meant they couldn't protect Granger. I mean, he was on his back the entire game.
Yeah, and it was nice to see that Coastal got to 40 to push it over the total. Even though they were playing their third string quarterback, because they, McCall went out and they taped up, I think, both his ankles with about 11 minutes to go, and he didn't come back in the game.
Well, he shouldn't have come back. The game was over at that point.
Hey, you never know.
Georgia State cut it to 10. And then Coastal had that big run, and they scored immediately after, and the game was over. But
then you had Illinois, blank Chattanooga. Tommy DeVito looked like a capable quarterback in the first half of that game.
Yeah,
because they let him throw the ball. I think it was what, 24 or 26 times in the first half, and he had 240 some yards in the first half of that game. And then in the second half, they're like, you know what, we're not going to let you throw the ball anymore.
I probably didn't need to. Game was over at that point. I was wrong on that side. I linked to Chattanooga. I expected a lower scoring game. It was. Unfortunately, Chattanooga didn't participate. So that ended up not getting there. But
yeah, well, if you look, Chattanooga didn't do anything offensively. I mean, Hutchinson
didn't score. They didn't do anything.
Yeah, he was 6 of 18 for 49 yards.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to get it done. I was surprised that Brown only got 20 carries. But he still went over 100 for the 5th straight game dating back to last year. So he's the first running back for Illinois to do that. I mean, they basically ground Chattanooga down. They scored 10 in the first, they scored 14 in the second. Then it was just a matter of, let's see how much time we can bleed off the clock before we punt the ball back to them. And it worked in their favor. And the other game,
the entire program was too busy counting the $100 bills that Illinois sent them in order to play them, so they just didn't even bother showing up for the game.
Well, I mean, there's that too. And then what was the other game last night that nobody really? Oh, yes, that's right. The battle for states named Virginia.
Yeah, we both liked West Virginia. We said if Virginia Tech was going to win or cover, it was going to go under. And they didn't score many points, so we called everything right about that game. I said if West Virginia wins, it'll either go over or under because maybe their offense explodes. Took a while, but the second half happened, and Wells threw a pick 6, which kind of put the game on ice. But, yeah, Virginia Tech's a really, really bad team. We said that. I get the idea, you got the Enter Sandman for the crowd, and everyone's excited. They're not a good football team at all. West Virginia, I said before, is a mediocre team. They hung around with Pitt. Pitt's a decent team. And apparently Kansas is decent too. So the fact that West Virginia was able to score a lot of points against Pitt and Kansas, I thought they would be able to do enough to get to 24 against Virginia Tech, which we thought would easily be enough. Virginia Tech got absolutely demolished. That's a really bad football team.
Yeah, I mean, like I said last night, the last 2 minutes of the first half was the turning point because, Virginia Tech led 7-3 with under 2 minutes to go in the half. Then Lake hit the field goal to make it 7-6, and then they got the ball back and went 70 yards in 50 seconds to take the lead with 11 seconds to go before intermission. And then Virginia Tech forgot that there was a second half to the game, so they got outscored, 20-3 after intermission to lose going away. I mean, West Virginia just beat them into submission. They outgained them 421 to 228. They had 31 first downs to Virginia Tech's 4.
Like you're a Power 5 school at home. 228 yards of offense. Like that's how bad Virginia Tech is.
Yeah, and they had 14 first downs. They were crushed in time of possession.
Yeah.
West Virginia had the ball over 38 and a half minutes.
It's not a hot take, but I think it's easily worth saying Virginia Tech's not going to a bowl game. In fact, they'll probably not even reach 5 wins. I think this is a 3-9 or 4-18. They are really that bad.
Yeah, they're not going to be anything to write home about.
You think obviously, they get to 5? I don't think they get to 5.
I got to look at their schedule.
I mean, it's a bunch of conference games. I don't even know how many conference games I'd actually like them in. I'm assuming against – I don't even know if they beat Duke.
Well, yeah, they've got North Carolina next week on the road. Then it's Pitt. Then it's Pitt on the road.
Okay. You don't have to say home road. We'll just go with the teams.
Okay, then it's Miami.
Okay.
Then it's NC State.
Okay.
Then it's Georgia Tech. Then Duke. Then
Georgia
Liberty.
Tech maybe. Georgia Tech we can have a conversation about, but that's basically it.
Yeah, then Duke, then Liberty, and then Virginia, of course, to close the season.
I'm not picking them to beat Liberty. I'm not picking them to beat Virginia. I think Virginia Tech's going to win 3 to 4 games. I think that team's awful.
Yeah, I don't see them getting past any of the 3 ranked teams on their schedule.
Is Duke home or road?
Duke is at Duke.
That's interesting. I think Duke has a shot to win that game. Yeah, I think Virginia Tech's really, really bad. I mean,
yeah, they might get to 4. They might get to 4 wins. Keyword might. I mean, they'll probably beat Georgia Tech because that game's at home.
I don't even know if they would beat Georgia Tech. The fact that we're having this conversation tells you how bad this team is. They should beat Georgia Tech. I don't even know if Collins is going to be the coach at that point. Like, he might be fired before the game, but we'll see. Either way, really bad team. West Virginia, I still think is 6-6, 7-5 caliber. They're not bad.
Yeah. West Virginia will probably be in a bowl game. I mean, they do play in the Big 12 where nobody plays defense, so that works in their favor too because they can put up 35, 40 points and, still have a shot of winning no matter how bad their defense is. But yeah, Virginia Tech's terrible. It's not going to get any better. Jeffrey, we appreciate the words. Like I said, you guys should feel free to put your comments and your thoughts out there. I'd tell you to email the higher-ups at Winners and Winers, but you probably have to go through the contact information on the website. And I don't know who reads them. But,
you could tag Winners and Winers on Twitter, I guess, if you really want to say.
Well, yeah, you could do that. You could do that, too. You could tag them. I mean,
I think realistically, if we continue to roll it out on the Winners and Winers page, we would naturally see an increase because we're notifying like 15,000 more people. Like I think that would definitely help. But once again, it's not my call. We'll see what happens moving forward. But we'll see. But either way, we still have today, and let's try to make some money on this Friday. Anything else you want to talk about from yesterday's card, or should we transition over to today's? We didn't talk about baseball, but I mean, I don't really know what you want to talk about for baseball.
I was going to say, you can give credit to Kyle Bradish. He outdueled Justin Verlander, and, I don't think anybody really would have seen that coming with the way Baltimore had been slumping lately. But, Verlander didn't look his usual sharp self, and Bradish gave up, 1 hit in the first 8 innings.
Yeah, he was great. I know that my favorite baseball play yesterday, which I kind of wish was my play today in hindsight, was the Guardians. I said that Chicago quit on the season after they lost in extra innings, and they got smacked in the second game of the series, and they lost on the run line, 4-2. I believe that was plus 135, which I liked. Guardians were the better team. They were up 1-0 early. Bieber was solid, as we expected. Cueto was hit or miss because he missed that much time based on I forgot what you said he had an issue was. It was his neck.
He had dizziness.
It was dizziness, sorry, but either way, the point is that I do think in general the White Sox, I thought about taking Detroit today. I'm not an Eduardo Rodriguez guy, and Giolito's been okay lately. Do you want any piece of the White Sox laying like minus 190 or 200 when their season basically ended and died in front of their home fans about 2 days ago? Because I don't. I think the Tigers might win tonight.
No, I ducked that game because I looked at it and said, I don't like Lucas Giolito because
I
he
like the
hasn't.
value on Detroit, though. You're going to give me 160 against a team that quit on the season.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, the Tigers quit on the season like 4 months ago.
But at least they have young guys playing for pride. The White Sox have veterans who made the playoffs last year and were hoping to make it back. I just think if you want to talk about an underdog pick tonight, I like Detroit because I'm not sure if the White Sox are even going to show up mentally for this point.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I avoided that game. I mean, I avoided the Milwaukee game because Lauer's coming back off the shelf, and I mean, I know Milwaukee's facing Mike Minor, but
I like Milwaukee in that game. Colton Wong hitting 3 home runs. I don't know what the odds were, but if you bet it somehow, you got robbed because that should have been like 300 to 1. But that was an impressive showing by him.
yeah, now he'll probably go like 0 for his next 35.
I'll give him a bunt single. We'll compromise.
Oh, okay.
I'll give him a 1 for 4 the bunt single.
All right, that's fair. And I've got to admit when I was wrong, and I thought that Fried would outpitch Ranger Suarez yesterday, and Suarez turned in 6 very good innings, and Atlanta didn't score any runs and lost 1-0. So I mean, good pitching there. We watched Barrios pitch like everybody thinks he has all year on the road. So now
good
that
for the Yankees. Yankees are up 7 now in the division.
It was also good for Tampa Bay because it sliced into the race for the top spot. It also helps Seattle because Seattle beat Oakland. And now both Tampa Bay and Seattle are 1 game behind the Blue Jays for the top wild card spot. So it's going to be interesting going down the stretch here in the next couple of weeks.
It was a big win for Seattle. I don't want to go through a full rabbit hole here with the topic I'm going to bring up, but I do want to talk about it. Julio Rodriguez got paid a bunch of money. We could agree that based on what he's done this season, it's warranted. He's an incredible young player. You gave him the Wander Franco treatment. You sign him young. You keep him until he's like 30-something. How concerned are we with the injury proneness? Because he's been injured a lot.
I mean, you have to be concerned, don't you?
I'm just bringing it up, not to take it against him, but he got injured again yesterday. Back injury, I think. I think his back tightened up on him. He had the wrist injury from the home run derby. He's missed time here and there. I'm kind of wondering, is he going to be an injury-prone player? Because we've seen a lot of different ailments.
Yeah, you have to wonder how many more of these can he take, and how many more of these can the team take to justify how much they're paying him over the term of this contract before they say, you know what, we're going to cut our losses.
He's a great player when he's on the field. I'm not saying that, and I understand why Seattle felt the need, because Seattle doesn't attract many free agents. They wanted to tie him down for a long time. But I have to at least point out, he gets injured a lot.
Right. And that's going to be a point of concern, especially with you're fighting for a playoff spot here.
He might go on the IL again. We don't know what the story is. It depends how serious the back tightened up. I don't know.
Yeah, he's listed as questionable again.
I'm assuming he's not going to play today, minimum.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a team that's already dealing with offensive issues because, Suarez broke his finger last week. J.P. Crawford is questionable with a knee. I mean, you're trying to get by. But outside of Haniger and maybe France, is there anybody really in that lineup that scares you? I mean, Kalenic is hitting, 036?
Yeah, he's actually been okay since he got called up recently. I think he homered again yesterday.
But, I mean, still, you look at his numbers. On the season, he's batting, $138.
Yeah, just saying, though, if you want to back Seattle, assume Julio's not going to be in the lineup for probably tonight and maybe a little bit onward. But still, besides that, there was one game I did want to talk to you about for today's card, but you might have it on your card. It was my play of the day. Do you know why the Rangers are favored tonight?
Because odds makers are on drugs.
Okay. I'm not sure if you have that play.
I have it listed in the shot in the dark.
Okay, you do. Okay, because it was my play of the day. It was for pure value. We'll talk about that when we get to it in the shot in the dark. But I just didn't understand that line at all. But anyway, you're ready to move on because I'll do the ad read stuff if you're.
Oh, look, Jeffrey's talking about he's 20 miles away from Winners and Wires headquarters. And he's making picket signs.
Okay, I respect it. I didn't know
I'm sure
made
Jim will be there
nowadays.
too.
I thought it was all digital nowadays. You bring a projector and you hold up like a projector sign. But all right, anyway.
Buddy's house said keep it like it is. I agree. I don't see a point in changing it. The more things change, the more they stay the same. But when you take away what the show is to try to make it something different, you lose a lot in the translation.
Yeah, but either way, once again, we'll see what happens over the weekend. Maybe I'll be back, maybe I won't, so we'll see. But talk about our sponsors, Caesar Sportsbook. They have a great deal for first-time users. Get up to $1,250 free bet insurance. Download the app today. Always check your state's age limits. Plus, as we always say, bet responsibly. And my co-host over here was really, really close to hitting a 700 to 1 parlay yesterday? What was it, like 87 to 1, 70 to 1?
Yeah, 87 to 1 with the Royals money line, or with the Royals run line. With the money line, it was 57 to 1.
Either way, the point is, if you backed all of his plays individually, you made a bunch of money because he hit basically 90% yesterday. But don't forget to check out my co-host Chris King's best premium bets every day. Check the link in the show box below. It's his favorite parlays on the card. He was one pick away from an 87 to 1 shot yesterday. He knows
Thanks, Cleveland.
Yeah, Cleveland didn't exactly help you out there. Plus, check out both picks and parlays and the Winners and Winers website and YouTube channels for free picks all day, every day. But time to move on. Also, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss our show. But time to move on to the actual picks for today's card. First, I'll let you do your thing.
Well, first, quick shout out to Detroit Lenny. I see he was in the chat there. Good dude, Detroit Lenny. He'll even, put odds up on his own kids' flag football games.
Somebody's got to do it. The only thing missing is player props.
Maybe that's coming out this year. You never know.
Maybe. We'll see.
But we'll take a look at the two teamers today. We're going to start with the San Francisco Giants and the Diamondbacks. Scott, Arizona had a chance to deal the Dodgers another loss last night. Took the lead in the ninth on a homer off of who else but Craig Kimbrell. But the Diamondbacks bullpen wilted in the bottom of the frame, gave up a couple of infield hits, one that tied the game. Joe Mantiply struck out Justin Turner on 3 pitches, and then Mookie Betts, as a pinch hitter for Joey Gallo, lined a single to left to give the Dodgers the win there. Today we've got Carlos Rodon, who's back pitching. He was supposed to start, I believe it was Tuesday, and they pushed him back because of an issue with his finger. He's going against Tommy Henry, who last time I remember trying to back him, he got shelved and gave up like 400 runs against the Phillies. Rodon's been on a roll. He struck out double-digit hitters in 4 of his last 6 starts.
Another guy that shouldn't be on the current team that he's on.
True. You look back, going back to August 17th, he struck out 11 Diamondbacks in that start. He also struck out 10 against them on July 26th. That was the day when he kicked the bat that hit Tyro Estrada in the face.
Yeah. He's been good since then, though. He's been pitching really well since he accidentally assaulted his teammate.
Yeah, since then, strikeout totals 10, 10, 3, 7, 11, 10. He had 2 against San Diego, which was, I think San Diego was swinging at a bunch of crap early. He only went 4 innings in that one, but his last 3 starts, 6 shutout innings against the Phillies, struck out 10, 2 runs on 3 hits, and 5 1/3 against the Cubs, struck out 11, and 1 run, none earned in 5 innings on 2 hits with 1 walk and 8 strikeouts against the Braves in his last start. Let's face it, Arizona, they gave the Dodgers some issues, but
they should have won arguably every game of that series. You can make a serious argument, but
do you have any faith in Tommy Henry, who in his last 3 starts has given up 13 runs in 13 1/3 innings?
No. I mean, it's really a matter of, do you want to trust a bad team to beat a bad team? And the Giants are still better than Arizona. I like Rodon a lot. I do wonder about the finger issue of maybe he'll be limited based on length. We'll see moving forward, but I got to like the Giants there. First 5 run line, I think is a pretty good deal if you want to go that route. I think the Giants should be leading after 5. But I guess the argument is, the only reason why you'd push back on it, do you want to lay 164 with the Giants? But Rodon is the one pitcher that I'd actually be willing to do that with. Maybe Logan Webb a little bit, but he hasn't been great in the second half. So, yeah, Rodon's the guy I want to back.
Yeah, I'd be backing Webb if it was at Oracle Park. I wouldn't necessarily back him at 164 on the road. Mm-hmm. The Dodgers and the Cardinals, where has the Cardinals offense gone, Scott? 1 run in their last 45 innings.
Well, they hit a grand slam. They won against the Padres yesterday. They came back.
That's true, but I mean, going into
Before
that,
it was one run in like either 45 innings or like 35 innings, or it was really, really bad. They got back on track, I guess, yesterday. I mean, they didn't really do anything until Donovan hit a grand slam.
I was going to say, is one swing of the bat. Can you say that put them back on track?
It was a big win for me because I still have the Cardinals to win the division, and I didn't want to get swept by the Padres and then face the Dodgers in a 4-game set right after it. I still like the Dodgers, though. I know Betts pinch hit yesterday. That means he should be starting today because they gave him basically the entire day off. And Dodgers are the better team. The Cardinals are one of those teams that you watch and you wonder to yourself through about half the game, how does this team have 88 wins?
And then you realize what division they play, and you're like, oh, well,
it's really because of the division. Like the Cardinals, I don't think are a very good baseball team. They're just good at pitching, and they have 2 really good hitters. One's going to win MVP, and they're really good at come from behind stuff. Like they'll be trailing 2-0 in the 7th, and then randomly score 3 runs in the 8th and they'll win. Happens all the time. But the Cardinals, it was a big win for me yesterday. I'm not saying I think the Brewers actually come back and win the division, but facing the Dodgers 4 straight while the Brewers face the Reds, the potential for a miserable weekend for my standards is on the horizon. But I got to like the Dodgers here. The Cardinals still can't hit. And you're looking at the pitching matchup here. I think the Dodgers are getting a pretty solid deal below 160 since they're the much better team.
Now, has Andrew Heaney figured something out? Is this just because he's getting kind of all the run support? But, I mean, he's racked up 92 strikeouts in 61 innings this season. He struck out at least 8 in 5 of his last 6 starts. And we're talking about a guy that was, he's had a 7.32 ERA down the stretch with the Yankees last year.
I don't want to talk about it.
It was 5.27 with the Angels before he got traded. And he hadn't had an ERA below, 4 since 2015.
Yeah, his main issue is still there, which is the home runs. He's allowed 12 home runs in 61 innings. So he's still giving up a bunch of home runs. I guess the luxury is he's had nobody on base for those home runs, which is why his ERA is 2.66. But his issue is still the long ball. That's still a thing. So looking at the Cardinals, they don't exactly have many power bats. They have some. You got Arenado, you got Goldschmidt, you got O'Neill. That's basically it. I don't think they have many other power bats. Pujols, technically. But Quintana was good his last time out. He's been pretty decent with the Cardinals in general, which has been a bit surprising. However, he's awful on the road. His road numbers, 4.6 ERA. I like Heaney in this spot. I think the Dodgers the better team. The Cardinals had 1 big hit yesterday. They had a grand slam. That was it. So I still don't like, and it was by Donovan of all people. So the rest of the lineup has not really done much lately.
Yeah, Lars Nootbaar couldn't get it.
Nootbaar homered. He scored the only run that they had in that 30-something inning stretch. I like Nootbaar. I think he's good, but I do have to at least acknowledge that on paper, the Cardinals' offense is mediocre at best.
But like you said, you wake up and you're looking, and they've got 88 wins.
But every single win they have, it feels like they're trailing after 6 innings. It feels like they're down 3-1 and they randomly score 4 in the 8th. Like every single time.
I mean, the Dodgers have been the same way. We saw that, I think it was against the Cardinals earlier this year where they were down 6-0 and then came back to win 7-6.
That's also one game. I'm just saying the Dodgers are usually up. Like, you assume 88 wins, they're usually, with like 10 games left, you assume, all right, they're probably, getting up early, good bullpen, they're able to put the pressure on. It's really not the case. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I got to assume the Cardinals are not a good first 5 team. It feels like they're losing all the time, and then they somehow find ways to win games. Am I alone on that, or have you noticed the same thing? It feels like there's a lot of theatrics late in games for Cardinals action.
Well, yeah, because they get to the bullpens, and there's a lot of bad bullpens around the National League for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have the numbers on their first 5 stats either, but like you said,
selective recall, but I could swear they're always trailing like after 5. It feels that way all the time.
Wouldn't surprise me. Going to go to the CFL here. They're going to take the Tiger Cats over the Alouettes. I know Montreal's played better of late. They've won 3 of 4, and everybody's like, look at that. Montreal's won 3 games. Hamilton's coming off their best game of the season. They whipped Winnipeg and hung 48 points on the Blue Bombers last week, winning 48-31. Dane Evans has not turned the ball over as much of late. He's still averaging almost 280 yards a game through the air. Montreal sucks on defense. I'll take a couple points and Hamilton because, unlike the NFL, in the CFL, you can just miss a field goal at the end of the game and still win.
What's the difference? What's the difference between a tiger and a tiger cat?
I haven't figured that out yet.
Okay, just asking. Just trying to see if we're on the same page. Cool.
I think Hamilton, they just want to come up with something cool. They're like, what? We need to hyphenate our name because then we can really.
I'm just saying, if you have a hyphen in your name, it's probably too long. That's all I'm saying. Especially for like a mascot, or anything. I don't know what to do with that. But yeah, I think Hamilton did a good week last week. Montreal, I think we'd agree, is not a good team. They're probably mediocre. Can we say that?
Oh yeah, I mean they're what 5-9, I think.
Yeah, I mean they're not a good team, but you score 40 plus points against Winnipeg, and you're getting money. You're getting plus money. I think that's a pretty solid option.
Yeah, and it's time for Hamilton to win on the road. I know they're 0-6, but
they're due.
They're due.
Yeah.
And Montreal, like I said, Montreal doesn't stop anybody. They give up points by the truckload.
I like the over in that game. Montreal offensively is not great, but I think you're going to see points.
Yeah, and then that's at 51.5 at most books.
It's a low because Hamilton could score 40 again if they actually show up for a road game. I feel like you have to like the over, don't you?
Yeah, and the over's gone 5-1 in the last 6 meetings between these teams in Montreal.
Yeah, I'll go with the over.
You're just looking here, Hamilton. Montreal is 7th in the league in scoring defense. They give almost 27 a game. Hamilton is 8th. They give up almost 28 points a game.
And Montreal offensively, they're not a great team, but they're not atrocious. They're not like Edmonton bad. They can move the ball.
Now they throwing Edmonton under the bus again.
Is Edmonton dead last? I'm pretty sure they're dead last, right?
Yeah, Hamilton. Hamilton is 2nd. Montreal is actually 7th in total.
But I'm saying, who's last though? Last is like Edmonton.
Oh yeah, it's Edmonton.
That's what I thought. So Montreal is competent. They can move the ball, especially against a bad defense at home. You might see both teams get into the 20s in this game, or like the high 20s, maybe even one team in the 30s or 40s. I think that total's too low. I like the over.
Yeah, I mean, the last meeting was last month on August 20th. Montreal won 29-28.
Okay. That's kind of the game we're expecting here.
Pretty much. So I would look for something along those lines as well. This one will probably end up over the mark, like Scott said. Then we've got the Yankees and the Red Sox. What a surprise that we'd have these two teams meeting in late September.
With one team playing for something and the other team not playing for anything?
Right. The Red Sox, are they going to go into full punt mode? And, will Rich Hill intentionally walk Aaron Judge in the first inning now that they've been eliminated from playoff contention? Will they go full?
Said he's not trying to intentionally walk him. I don't know.
He's not trying to intentionally walk him, but 4 of the 26 pitches that Judge saw yesterday were strikes.
Realistically, if you were facing Judge, you should pitch around him. Like, I don't know why teams have pitched to him this frequently, but Judge went to the warning track, and one of the 4 pitches that actually were hittable. By the way, you said the 4 strikes. I think one of them was actually like a ball, and he just swung at it. So it might have been 3. But
okay, that's fair.
I got to like the Yankees as well. I mentioned how the Yankees have been hitting the ball a lot better lately. They scored 5 yesterday. The bullpen's still not great, but you have Cole. You're hoping, even though he's awful in Fenway, he can get it together at Yankee Stadium. I think Rich Hill's mediocre at best, but the Yankees have been good. They're up 7 games in the division. They've hit the ball well. Boston's been in free fall. I'm going with the Yankees as well. I think they'll probably end up winning comfortably. And Hill goes, 5 innings max?
Maybe. I mean,
and you think I like Boston's bullpen? The bullpen's terrible. I got to like the Yankees.
Yeah, Boston's bullpen ERA since the All-Star break, 5.43. It's the worst.
And they burned a lot of their good relievers because they went to extras yesterday.
Yep.
So I mean, if you're going to be looking at a bullpen for 3-4 innings minimum, I got to like the Yankees in this one.
And Bill brings up that the Red Sox are Cole killers. Are you concerned at all that it's such a quick turnaround for Cole to face Boston again after they got him for 4 in his last start?
I don't know, because if you look at the weather report, it's actually supposed to result in a lower scoring game. So I'm kind of hoping that's the case. I mean, if you expect Cole to get shelled, just bet Devers hit a homer because Devers just owns him entirely.
True.
I'm hoping Cole gets it together. I don't know. It seems like it's a spot where the Red Sox have done well. A lot of his blow-up starts against them, though, have been in Fenway. He has been better at Yankee Stadium against the Red Sox in the past. I think he'll pitch decently tonight. I think if you want to go for alternative strikeout numbers and you think he pitches well, I think Cole could go for 10.
That was, Nathan said instead of Rich Hill, his name is Dick Mountain.
Yes, that's the nickname for Rich Hill. That is correct.
Good name for a porn star, Dick Mountain.
I prefer Buck Naked.
I thought you were going to say you preferred huge erection.
Bend over. It's a good one, too.
All right, so we'll move on to the...
Humongous?
Yeah. You could be Lord Humongous. That was Hugh Morrison, WCW, for a while before he went to huge erection, too. Mm-hmm. But we'll look... Nathan says he's been waiting to push the Tigers button for a while. Well, like Scott said, the White Sox are basically... No, Crystal, nobody's going to name a porn star Jesus.
It's Jesus, actually.
Jesus no hit the curveball.
Jesus, there's my car.
Nathan's been waiting to push the Tigers button for a while, and like Scott said earlier, the White Sox, they pretty much died on that hill Tuesday night when Cease.
I think it's
started.
very appealing to take the Tigers tonight. I probably will take a piece on them. I really think the White Sox have just quit on the season.
I have to agree. I mean, they're dead. The Twins are dead.
Buxton got hurt. The team fell apart. I believe we called that to a T.
Yeah, and then the pitching staff fell apart too.
Well, we already knew that. But
So we'll go to 4 for the show. Scott, I know if Rye was here, and I saw he had popped into the other studio earlier asking what was good, and that's why I had to go out and comment on the YouTube link to the show that we were over here. I've got to go with the Phillies, even though, he points out that Nola tends to suck in late September games. But can you really trust Jake Overeasy for the Braves?
Not really. I feel like it's one of those situations where you definitely like the starting pitcher for the Phillies more. The issue is, do you think they should be laying 156? That's a lot to be laying against the Braves. It's one thing if you want to back the Phillies, I get it. If it was 120, I'd probably take the Phillies.
But what are the odds you're going to get 120 when it's Odorizzi against Nola?
Well, that's the point. You're kind of hoping that team record-wise, they would give the Braves a little bit of respect and keep it close. I get where you're coming from. I think the price is a little bit too high for me to take against Atlanta, but I understand your angle. I mean, Odorizzi is a guy we've roasted for months.
Well, I mean, and Bill said about the Tigers, Erod can pitch sometimes.
Sometimes, keyword. And so is Giolito. Giolito can pitch sometimes.
He can also disappear for 3 months and, not contact the team and be put on the restricted list and whatever else sometimes.
Is it fair to say, though, that Erod and Giolito kind of have similar pros and cons? Because they're good occasionally, but mostly you're kind of just holding your breath every time they pitch?
Yeah, it's basically like Brian Fantana. 60% of the time they suck every time. Mm-hmm. I'm still going back to the Astros tonight. I like this a lot better when it was Framber Valdez going. I don't know why they decided that they were going to switch it up and go with Urquidy.
They want Baltimore to make the playoffs. I'm half joking, but that's actually a decent idea if you really want to try to get Seattle out of the playoff picture.
Well, as I say, then why don't you just throw Luis Garcia? The guy that Nathan says sucks.
It could be. I don't know.
I was just surprised because yesterday when I looked at it, it was Valdez, and then they changed it overnight.
Maybe the Exxon Valdez needed fuel.
Hey, anything's possible these days. The Angels over the Twins. It's Ohtani. Yeah, it's Ohtani against Louis Varland. Mm-hmm. I can tell you're very excited about Louis Varland based on that response.
Yeah, he's Darius Garland's cousin.
with a V.
With a V, yeah. It's like the first. It's like twins, except instead of the first name rhyming, it's the last name.
Yeah, Varland 0-1, a 5.23 ERA. He's made 2 starts.
So I mean, it was also a play that I'm obviously tempted by. The Angels were mediocre against Texas. They're not good on the road, but Ohtani's amazing. So you kind of assume if he can hold his own, they should be able to get to Varland in some capacity. And if you want to go for strikeouts, by the way, I don't mind Ohtani 10 plus because he might go 7 innings in this game.
Yeah, and then Tampa Bay over Toronto. Originally, and this is another one, I wrote this game yesterday, and they listed Manoah as pitching, and then they decided that they were going to say, you know what? Fuck you and fuck everybody else. We're going to start Mitch White.
Yeah. Mitch White is just, he's Mitch White.
Is Toronto basically saying, you know what? We don't want to have the top wild card spot. We'd rather give it to somebody else.
I guess. They don't I'm trying to think of how the matchup works. Maybe they want to play the Yankees? I don't know.
Well, would they play the Yankees or would they play yeah, how does that work? Because with the 3 wild cards, I mean, 3 still plays 2, right?
I think so. I think does the 1 seed get a bye?
I don't know. If 3 plays 2, let me see if I can find it.
I feel like I should know this, but since they keep changing the playoff format, all I know is there's no more single game elimination wildcard stuff. I completely forgot what the actual format is for the wildcard spot.
Me too, because they, like you said, they keep changing. They can't make up their friggin' mind. Let's see. No single elimination, blah, 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 blah. First, the 1 and 2 seeds get first round buys.
There is a bye. Okay. So I thought there might be, but there might not be. Okay, fair enough.
So basically, whoever gets
they want to play the Guardians.
Yeah, whoever gets the worst wild card record faces the Guardians, and then the other 2 will face, face off. Yeah. Would you want to have home field advantage?
I mean, I would. It matters to some teams. I know Cleveland is actually they have a winning record on the road, so they actually travel pretty well. But yeah, I would. I mean, the Yankees at home are like 32 over. Like, yeah. Home field's a big deal for some teams.
But I mean, I don't understand why you decided at the last second to pivot from Manoah to Mitch White. Maybe Crystal knows that.
Unless Manoah's battling some injury and they wanted to give him an extra day. I don't know.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, Jason. Like Scott and I said, the way they change the playoff picture every other day, next year they'll probably have, everybody gets in the freaking playoffs.
I initially thought it was just the 1 seed to get a bye. I guess I didn't realize it was top 2, so my bad.
But, yeah. I mean, is there anything good you can say about Mitch White? The only thing I can say that was good about Mitch White is he was the last guy that started a game in the 10-teamer that we hit back in May.
Beat Arizona.
Yeah.
The best thing I could say about him, his name's easy to spell.
There you go.
It's
better than Erod.
Yeah.
So that takes us to the shot in the dark, Scott. Okay, Crystal said moving Manoah to tomorrow, it makes Manoah pitch in the last game of the regular season, which is nuts. And she's right. I mean, why the hell would you?
I'm assuming they would scratch him in the final day, right, to save him for game 1 of the play-in wild card series or whatever.
You'd hope so, but I mean,
it's still weird that they did it that way.
I mean, why would you? We're talking about Toronto. They've made a lot of decisions that don't necessarily make a lot of sense.
Plus, if you're going to be competing for the wild card, you're having the wild cards go at it, you do not want to go to the Trop. You want to have home field in Canada.
Oh, Andrew said FanDuel is down at the moment. What's up with that?
People betting on BetBoost.
There you go. Yeah. Freddie Freeman, Scott. Why is he plus money?
I don't know.
Dynamite drop-in money. That broadcasting school really
it's the same thing every time. I don't know. I mean, Freeman's great, and nobody seems to notice.
I mean, I get Quintana's a lefty, but he's not necessarily.
It's usually going to come down to lefty-lefty. That's why you add an extra 20 cents or something. But when you're an elite hitter who can win a batting title like Freeman can some years, then it doesn't matter who you face. You're still going to bat 320.
Yeah, and I was going to say, it's not like Quintana's a power lefty either.
No, he throws a lot of finesse stuff. So
Nathan said, do we like Brady Singer today going against Marco Gonzalez? Probably like him a lot more if Julio Rodriguez doesn't play, don't you?
I was going to say, I actually don't mind plus money on the Royals because Seattle did beat Oakland yesterday. They didn't exactly look good.
The bad part is it's not plus money, it's minus money.
Oh, sorry, they're favored. My bad.
Because it's at Kauffman Stadium.
I'd have to go first 5 then if I was doing that because I don't trust Kansas City's bullpen at all.
Yeah, outside of Barlow, their bullpen not very good. But Kansas City going off right now.
I'm just surprised they're favored on principle. I know Kansas City's been playing a little bit better lately, but I figured with Seattle's record, Seattle would be favored by default.
I'm just taking a look here. It was 130 or 134 earlier, depending on the book. It's now 132 to 137.
Okay.
First 5 on that one.
I didn't realize, by the way, that Marco Polo's allowed 27 home runs in 166 innings. 27 home runs. Damn it, Marco. Get it together.
How many has Corbin given up?
I don't think he's given up 27.
No? I thought he had gotten
I
there
don't
already.
think so.
I could be wrong.
27 might lead the league. That's a ton of home runs.
I know Barrios had like 25 a couple weeks ago. So
Corbin's actually allowed exactly 27.
Okay, what about Barrios?
Barrios might give both of them a run for their money. Let me see what Barrios is at. Barrios has allowed 29. We have a new leader in the clubhouse.
All right. First 5 on the Kansas City game, in case you were wondering, the Royals money line minus 145. If you take them on the run line at minus a half, it's plus 100.
Nice.
Would you jump on that, Scott?
No, but if you like even money, I mean, there are worse ways to spend it.
Nathan said Mitch White's value is equivalent to Dallas Keuchel.
I think White's better than that.
As I say, that's a little bit.
I yearn for the days of Dallas Keuchel starting games. But I mean, we had a good run there. Second win there. I bet against him in his final start in Fenway, which cashed easily for a team total. Give it a good run. Give it a good run. I'm just waiting for Bruce Zimmerman to come back next year for Baltimore.
He did pitch for a little bit, didn't he? Or did he get hurt?
I faded him every time. He got hurt. I think he's pitched in the last 2 months.
Yeah, I remember seeing Zimmerman at one point.
His Adon, all the guys. Corbin next year. You can fade a bunch of these guys. A lot of money to be made.
Zimmerman's last outing September 5th.
I was going to say, yeah.
But he hadn't pitched in 2 months before that, and then he hadn't pitched in almost 3 weeks before that start.
Yeah,
so he made like 3 appearances since the middle of June. Scott, I know that you love this next guy on the list below Freddie Freeman. He's one of your favorite players of all time.
He's actually been a lot better in September. So he had a really awful August. He's gotten back on track.
You called him basically a sack of crap.
I did. Because he was for August. I'm not saying that he's a good player. I still wouldn't want him on my team in the future. But he has been better lately. And I have to recognize that Torres is a streaky player. He's usually more bad than good. But he's in the middle of a good little run. So I don't mind it, especially at plus 150 against Rich Hill.
And he hits lefties well. He's got a .530 slugging percentage. He's hit 10 homers in 134 at-bats against left-handed pitching. Yeah. Compared to, what's he got, 13 or 14 homers?
I'm harsh, but I try to be fair. Like Torres, I don't like for a full 162. But in the last 15, he's been solid.
Yeah, in the month of September, in 17 games, he's hit 300 with 3 doubles, 5 homers, and 16 runs batted in.
Yeah, and you look at his numbers in August, and he shouldn't have been playing.
Just for comparison, we'll take a look. In the month of August, I see a whole bunch of zeros.
What was he, I'm going to guess 150 batting average?
I'll let you know in 1 second. Come on, there we go. Month of August, he was 180.
So close.
18 for 100.
Just saying. So, yeah, it's warranted, but at least I acknowledge when players are in the middle of a hot streak. Torres in a hot streak.
And he struck out 33 times in those 100 at-bats.
I'm sure a lot of them had guys on base.
While walking 3.
Yeah.
Scott, Mike Trout. Ever heard of him?
I heard he's pretty good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's facing off against
Then we shouldn't have put him on this list.
Yeah.
JT Real Muto had 5 hits the other day. He's been on a bit of a roll. And he gets to face Odorizzi.
Yeah.
Look, it's a different guy for the Guardians, Scott. It's Stephen Kwan.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't go to Miles Straw, who's been crushing it recently.
I didn't even look at him to see what his numbers were.
I know Straw's been pretty good recently. Kwan had the phenomenal start to the year. He's still been good. It just he set the bar way too high for the first 5 games of the season that he wasn't batting 500, so people stopped caring. But, yeah, he's a good player. He's definitely a contact hitter. I see some similarities. I can't really say with the power, but at least with approach. He kind of reminds me of Shin-Soo Choo.
Yes. He doesn't get plunked as much as Chu, though.
Oh, Chu got hit a ton, which also helped his on-base percentage. But I like Kwan. I think Kwan's good.
Kwan in his last 6 games, total base numbers 2.4, 4.4, 6.3.
Just saying, you look at the numbers, though. He's batting .297, 5 home runs, 44 RBIs. His on-base percentage is, for some reason, I have to actually click to figure it out. I thought it'd be here.
376.
376, 373. I see a lot of similarities to Shinsu.
He's stolen 17 bags. He's got
not nearly as many home runs, though. Like, Chu had more power, less speed. But from approach, I can see similarities. I think he's a good hitter.
He's got 7 triples. He's walked more than he struck out, which is rare for a guy in this era where everybody's worried about launch angles and everything else.
Do you see the similarities? They were both lefties. I think he reminds me of Chu. And I like Chu as a player. I thought he was good.
And if you wanted to chase the run prop, total runs over a half is plus 125. He scored a run in each of his last, at least a run in each of his last 5. He scored 9 runs over those 5 games.
Yeah, well, line for Moneyball. Can he get on base? He has an on-base percentage of 373, so you kind of have to like his chance of getting on at least once.
Yeah, and his hits in the last 6 games, 2-3, 2-4, 3-1.
Yeah, he's solid.
So, I mean, can't go wrong with those kind of numbers. I mean, don't bet on him to hit a homer. I mean, he did homer the other day against the
White Sox. He's not a home run guy, but he'll definitely make contact. He does not strike out that much, and I really, really like that. In 518 at-bats this season, he has a total – why is this not here? Damn it, I have to actually –
53.
That's very, very solid. You're striking out in basically like 10% of your at-bats in today's MLB. That's tremendous.
Yeah, and he's got 59 walks.
Yeah.
So, I mean – like you said, he's not going to give you a ton of power. He's not going to be a 20 home run guy or anything like that. But give me a guy that can get on base and set the table for the rest of that lineup.
Mm-hmm. He'll be a very good top of the order guy for a long time.
Yeah, with Ramirez, hitting the third, and what the hell they have hitting after him? Is it Ahmed Rosario?
They have Rosario. I know Jimenez is somewhere in like the middle.
Yeah, he hits like 6th, I think.
He's good too. I like him. The Guardians have a lot of random players. It's going to segue into your next pick. It was my play of the day. They just have a lot of pieces of guys who you don't really know of, but you watch them play and you actually like what you see. They have a lot of underrated, like unsung hero talent on that roster.
And then Texas, who has a bunch of high-paid guys where some of them are good.
And I don't think their starter is that bad for this game. Like John Gray, we know what he is. He's pitched in 8 innings since August 2nd. So he's not really stretched out. I'm not sure how much length he's going to go. But you look at who the Guardians are throwing out in this matchup, I don't think Morris is that bad.
Yeah, Cody, don't call me Zach Morris.
I don't think he's bad.
No, he's not. And to your point about Gray, you look at his recent outings, and
it's been okay, but he doesn't go any length.
Yeah, well, I mean, he gave up 2 runs over 4 1/3 to Tampa Bay. He gave 1 run over 3 2/3 against the Marlins in his 2 starts since coming off the shelf. But the Rangers have lost his last 4 starts. He's 0-3.
They've been blown out. I think they've lost each of those 4 by like 3+ runs.
Yeah, 4-2, 7-2, 10-6, 5-1. So
there's a 4-2 in there, but okay. The point is they've not fared well when he pitches. And I don't like Texas' bullpen compared to Cleveland's. Cleveland is a top 3 bullpen in the league based on numbers.
Yeah. Nathan asked about the Angels run line. We talked about that a couple minutes ago.
Yeah.
You basically have to say that they're going to win this one because the Twins, they just got swept by Kansas City.
I'll take an alternative strikeout prop on Ohtani. I think he strikes out 10 tonight. 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, maybe like 1 run. I
think I saw on earlier when I don't know if FanDuel came.
FanDuel's down now, so I can't check. But
yeah, when I looked at it earlier, I think that.
Well, you had what? You have 7.5 as the next pick at plus 138. So I got to assume it's going to be like 5-1, 6-1.
Yeah, actually, I've got it where it's popping back up. So let me see here. Angels are.
I'm trying to extrapolate the 7.5 and figure out what 10 would be. I'm going to assume it would be like 5-1 or 6-1.
Alt strikeouts. Ohtani at 10 or more is plus 500.
That's what I said. Okay. That was a good, lucky guess by me. So, yeah, I don't mind that. I think he'll strike out a decent amount of batters tonight.
Yeah, 11 plus is 900, 12 plus is 15.
Okay.
And if you wanted to go with at least 9, it's plus 255.
Okay. I'm going to go greedy. I'll go with 10.
Good for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Robert said, my book will only let you pick one play from a game on a parlay, if not a single game or one game parlay.
It's unfortunate, but, some states still don't have legal betting. And, yeah, it's unfortunate. But hopefully someday we'll have all 50. It'll take a while. If we get to 25 in the next, year, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Urquidy over 4.5 strikeouts. It's Baltimore.
It's a low number.
It is. I was surprised it was that low. Makes me wonder what Valdez's number will be, because I'm guessing maybe he'll pitch tomorrow now.
I'm assuming Valdez would either be 6.5 or 7.5.
That's what I was thinking. Hey, Graham Ashcraft is coming back tomorrow.
Okay. He's actually a pitcher that isn't totally awful for the Reds.
He'll face Corbin Burns.
I just want Zoik to show up again. That's all I'm waiting for. Just give me Zoik again.
Rodon, how far up the ladder are you going to go with him, Scott?
I don't know, because things get a little bit weird at Chase Field. I'll give him 9 tonight.
To give him 9?
I'll give him 9.
Let's see what 9 would get you on the alternate line.
I'm going to guess plus 280.
Let's take a look. Let's see. 235.
Damn it. That's just not even worth my time, to be honest.
If you get to 10, if you go to 10, it's 450.
Not worth it. That's not worth my time. If I'm picking 10 strikeouts, I want it at least 5-1.
If you go to 11, it's 830. 12 is 1400.
Okay.
And Jeffrey Springs over 5.5. Springs has been good for a guy that you don't necessarily think of, because you think of Tampa Bay, you talk about McClanahan, you talk about Kluber, and
he's another classic Tampa guy. You don't know who he is. You have to look him up on Google, but you look up and he has a 2.5 ERA.
Yeah, who is this fucking guy? But yeah, I like Springs. He's a good left-handed pitcher. He can make things difficult for Toronto. And, you look at his strikeout total. He's not necessarily a strikeout guy, but he pitches well at the Trop. 4-2, a 194 earned run average, and 55 2/3. Struck out 59 in that stretch. Overall on the year, he struck out 130 and 121 1/3. And like you said, he's one of those guys that's a typical Rays pitcher, just flies under the radar and quietly does a job, kind of like Yarbrough did the last couple of years.
Yep.
But there you go. You can make yourself some big money there should everything pan out. Then you can send it all to me, because you guys don't need it. I mean, why not?
Also, kind of half-breaking news. It's not official, but there has been a lot of betting movement on one NFL game, and I wanted to mention it briefly. I know the show's a little bit long. The Jaguars-Chargers game. The Chargers just went from -7 to -3.5 in the last 10 minutes.
What the hell's going on there?
Vegas early reports, it seems like Herbert might not play.
Well, I need to switch my fantasy quarterback.
Just letting you know. So if you are looking at some NFL action, if your local book or any book you find still has 7, you should probably take it, because since the line dropped 3.5 points, I think it's safe to say that Herbert's probably not going to play.
Do you think now? How much of a swing? And I'm just asking because I want to get your opinion on it. How much of a swing would it be if they ruled if Herbert played, but they ruled Keenan Allen out again?
The truth is, I didn't have a strong opinion about that game at 7 anyway. Because Jacksonville, I don't think it's a good team. Colts are terrible, but do I like the Chargers? I think they're fine, Keenan is, a very solid receiver, but I guess the question really comes down to, do you think Jacksonville's defense is any good, or is Matt Ryan just playing in the wrong league?
True. The lone book that I see that still has it high is the Sports Illustrated sports book, has it at 6.5.
Okay.
Everybody else is down.
The point is, it dropped 3.5 points in the span of about 10 minutes. I'm assuming Herbert's not going to play. I just wanted to get that out of the way, because it's our last show for the week, and people want to bet on the NFL. Might be my last show as well, so I'll end it on a betting nugget or some inside information. Herbert might not play, so just keep that in mind.
And in case you were wondering about the Buffalo-Miami game, Buffalo has ruled out Dane Jackson and Micah Hyde and Jordan Phillips
My only takeaway from that now is I like the over in the game.
You didn't like it before?
Not really, because I thought Tua wouldn't do much against this defense, but now I actually kind of like the over.
Well, I mean, don't sleep on some of those guys that, I know that, we don't Trey White hasn't been out there yet. And,
it's not a matter of sleeping. I just think Buffalo might walk into 40 anyway.
Well,
I just think Miami's now going to score 20 and change.
I haven't heard anything about Xavier Howard's status yet. I've heard some people say he's going to play. I've heard some people say he's not going to play. It says he returned to practice on a limited basis.
Yeah.
Teron Armstead still out for Miami as far as practice goes. I mean, could that be an issue?
Could be. I mean, once again, I saw Tua play like a god for a quarter and a half. He wasn't very good for the other 2.5 quarters. So I'm not going to overreact to what happened last week. But based on injuries, I would lean to the over in that game. Other than that, though, you have anything else you want to add, or should I wrap it up?
No, I think we can wrap it up. Cool. Just don't forget to tweet everybody or tweet winners and whiners and tell them, voice your disdain or whatever else you want, however you want to word it.
Either way, point is, thanks to all of you. It was a lot of fun being on Just Parlays for 2+ months. Maybe if things work out and you guys, make enough comments, maybe I'll be back on the show. But as of right now, this is my last show with Just Parlays. So thanks to all of you for stopping by every day. It was a lot of fun. Besides that, still got the college football show with Steen in about 2 minutes, which we're going to end up doing.
Until they change that too, because God forbid.
Oh, we'll see. But either way, point is I'm still doing my free picks every night. So you can find me there. You can find me on Twitter at Rice Show Radio. But until next time, where Chris will be back in some capacity, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.